Don't let her in. Don't let her in.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so y'all can see Mark and Megan are in the room with me. And see, we got Kim and Lewis from Ohio joining us. All right. Chris, can you hear us? You there?
He's on mute.
He's got to find the unmute button.
Found it. Sorry about that.
There you are. Good
I
morning.
didn't know that one on the computer still did it if you were on the phone, so my bad. I don't have a camera here, so that's why
Okay.
it's not turned on. I apologize.
It's all right. We didn't want to see your face anyway. Oh, did I just say that? That was a cold prickly. And Patrick's not even here
I know.
to call me out on it. It's terrible.
Where's he?
Did you know Patrick and I are going to be neighbors?
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
I heard that.
There goes the neighborhood.
Are you sure you're approved by the HOA?
What's that?
Are you sure you're approved by the HOA?
No, I'm trying to sneak in there.
All right.
Come in the night.
So y'all remember from last month, we got Kim joining us from Ohio, and Lewis, who is a center trainer in Ohio, joining us today again. Yeah, all right. So we're still missing somebody. Who are we missing?
Deborah.
Deborah's right there.
Oh,
Yeah,
there she is.
yeah. I don't know. Okay. Hope everybody's healthy. Hope everybody's doing all right. See, David, you said you had to drop off around 10 o'clock?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Okay, so we'll save all our comments about you until you're gone.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Good. All right. So let's get going. I've got I gotta reshare something here, or stop the share or something or other. What have I gotta do? New share. There we go. Okay, so let me hide this. Everybody see that? Effective sales meetings and team selling is the topic for today. And so here's our agenda. As usual, pretty aggressive. We'll start as always with VIPs, and then our standard rule for sales leader of the day, cover the hiring funnel today, and then the sales topic is forecast management. I chose that one because it seems like everybody I talked to lately has said, with COVID, it's turned things upside down, and we got to change how we forecast, change how we figure out, maybe change our goals. We're going to talk about that. And then our book study is for the first time. We're going to all be studying Never Split the Difference. And then two management topics today: effective sales meetings and team selling. Questions on the agenda?
No. No questions.
Okay, so y'all are really talkative this morning. Good. So excited.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a VIP.
All right, Megan.
Victory. Well, actually, I have two.
Okay.
Ansley Jones received the Bronze Lifetime Achievement Award through the ACCE, which is our National Chamber of Commerce executives that we all kind of report to. So for over $175,000 in membership sales, which she has done in a very short period of time.
Good
And
for
good
her.
percent.
Wow.
So
Very
very
good.
proud of her. Also in the month of June, we were over our goal from a membership standpoint. We kind of, we have fractional CFO now, and kind of adjusted all of our budgets and, you know, kind of scaled everything down, cut costs everywhere we could, but we actually exceeded our original goal, not our
Adjusted.
adjusted goal.
All right.
Yeah,
Sweet.
that was exciting.
So what do you contribute it to?
A badass sales team.
Yeah.
Well, you're exactly correct. What was that thing?
No, a lot of different things. The program staff quickly transitioned to putting all of our events on virtually and adding more content than normal.
Oh, wow.
For example, some of our events that are usually monthly, they were doing weekly
Wow.
and doing educational seminars for PPP and then the recovery and when it first,
Cool.
so all types of that. And the sales team has done a great job of transitioning and really catering to our current members and making sure that we stay relevant and a resource to them.
Nice.
So, new membership sales is still down, but there's still effort to make our goal.
And I've got a coaching.
Congrats, Megan.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Very good.
I got a coaching session scheduled with Time this afternoon.
Good.
And I wasn't in the breakout session on Tuesday, but we did a role play. In Sales Metric, I did a role play on pain conversation.
Uh-huh.
And I got feedback that Ainsley nailed it.
Awesome. That's good. I want to talk to you about that
Okay.
conversation with Time because she brought the situation to me and I was like, that would be a great thing for Al to talk to you about that.
But it'd be good if she would have that thought on her own, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
We're working on
okay, good. Although you shouldn't discount when your people want coaching from you. That's a good thing, right? That really is a good thing. But if it's clearly a Sandler technique that's called for, yeah, and you're not sure exactly how to do it,
Mhm.
you can offer it. That's fine. Yeah. It's good.
that. He definitely needs some type of reverse,
Yeah.
but with softening statements, which I'm not good at,
Yeah.
she needs help with that.
Okay. Yeah, I can see where that comes through. I understand that. Yeah. All right, good. Thanks for sharing that. Anybody else? Victory, idea, or problem?
So I've got one. We had the developer that was supposed to start with us back in, I guess it was April now. And we did hire somebody instead of that guy back in June.
Wow.
And we were planning on hiring 2 people, so it was like, well, we'll keep that spot open in case he does. And then when I followed up with him towards the end of June, because he was planning on starting around the 1st of July, he was like, yeah, I can't work in the office at all. Emory's going to let me work from home indefinitely, so I'm just going to keep doing that. So it's good because we've been interviewing lots of other people for the last 6 weeks anyway. So
Finding the good folks are available?
yes.
Okay. All right. And David, you just recently assessed 3 people. What do you think about those results?
Sorry, I was having trouble unmuting it. It was good. I appreciate your help with that, Al. I think probably through conversations we've had here, I realized that I tend to like to hire people that are similar to me, and that's a weakness. And so it was good. It was kind of eye-opening to see that maybe one candidate in particular I was kind of given the edge to is very similar to me as far as the disc analysis is concerned. And so anyway, it was good to look at those results and take that into account when preparing to hire somebody.
Yeah, there was one in particular, I don't remember the names anymore, but there was one in particular I liked a lot based on just the assessment. So if you want to talk it through, give me a call, we'll do that.
Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, Deborah, how's PR doing back in the fold?
This has been really positive. He is doing very well. I am thrilled that I decided not to listen to my concerns of rehiring someone. I've noticed that when we were talking pre-hire, he talked about how he had grown during the interim. And, you know, that always sounds good. Now that he's hired, I see the reality of it, and I couldn't be happier.
Good. That is really good. I'm glad. Yeah, and you might, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but we, yesterday we highlighted Gene on our social media as a Sandler Ninja. So if you haven't seen it yet, check that out. Yeah. Okay, very good. Anybody else? Any B, I, or P's?
I have a little one.
All right.
It's not necessarily directly related to the sales team, but I've had a huge problem of finding technicians, and in the last week I've hired 2.
Sweet.
All right.
So that's real good. That's great. And then we also, I pursued a RFP, so I get related to sales with Emory University, and we won. So that's real good.
Oh, you got that one. Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
So that changes everything, doesn't it?
it very well could. Very well could. I may need to hire another 7 to 10 here shortly.
That's got to piss you off.
Wow.
In the best way.
Exactly.
All right. Any news on
That's awesome,
Elizabeth?
Chris.
Can you update us on her?
She started selling.
She did.
Yeah, not huge amount. She still lags behind Carla, of course, and I don't know anyone that could beat her. But yeah, she's selling. She's doing pretty well. I think she sold $10,000 worth of preventative maintenance. So reoccurring services in the last month or so. So that's pretty good.
That's good.
Is she getting more comfortable working through Zoom or whatever tool you're using?
Yeah, I think it's that, and also I started looking at, you and I had talked about the new sales versus account managers, and so we started looking at doing some of that with the team we have just a little bit, and so I let them do a few kind of account manager type meetings that were with existing clients instead of new clients, and they just totally did amazing. They just destroyed the task at hand and sold a lot, so it was real good.
Sweet.
All right. See, a week from Tuesday, Chris, the topic in Sales Mastery is account management. And so if you want Carla and Elizabeth to get into that class, that's fine. We can do that.
Hey, that'd be great.
Okay. All right. Good.
Great.
So
Yeah.
So I have one more quick one. So COVID doesn't appear to be affecting us. When I looked at our 6-month income statement, we're up 39% year over year.
Which is low for you, Scott. I mean, the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, well, 60%. You can't expect that every year.
Yeah, you're really taking a hit, man. Only up
Yeah.
39%. That's terrible. Yeah. But like some of y'all might remember Marta Scopa and Arthur Jenny with Wolf Vision. So they're so Marta's in New Jersey, and she's actually started joining the center trainer in New Jersey's management class, Danny Wood. And so now Arthur's coming back into this group. He just couldn't come in today, but he's back in this group. But Arthur was telling me yesterday that 3 of his team members are having their best year ever,
That's great.
which is amazing because when in March when COVID hit, they just went flat. But they have been able to pivot and take off and go. I still have a couple people that are struggling, but they're doing really well. And then some of y'all know 7 Mindsets, none of our clients, they don't have anybody in Leaders Forum, but they have several people in Mastery. and one in foundations right now. And they're having their best year ever.
Wow.
And, you know, Dwayne Moyer
Yeah,
is in that,
I know Dwayne,
in that
yes.
class. Dwayne just closed the biggest deal in their history, a $1.8 million deal.
Wow.
And he gave me some of the credit, took me to lunch yesterday.
Sweet.
He showed me the contract. This is really cool, okay? I don't hardly ever get to see the contracts y'all sign, right?
Right.
He showed me the contract. It was really cool to look at a big old $1.8 million contract. So this is a new thing for me, okay? You get a big win, I want to see the contract, all right? Come on. You want me to sign a non-disclosure, I'll do it, but I want to see the contract.
That's awesome.
I mean, seriously, that kind of thing just absolutely makes my day, bro. It makes my week to hear stuff like that, to hear your, you know, your success stories, your victories. Really good. I want to see one of your, Peter, one of your $10 million corporate contracts. I want to see that stuff. Oh, I'm sorry. We got to be quiet for Peter because he's babysitting. He's in the dark.
Well, hold on, I just got back on. Sorry about that.
So
What'd you
your
say?
next big contract, I want to see that contract.
Which one?
Your next big one.
Oh, it's all medical supplies. We've
Yeah.
been doing real well with that.
Okay. Awesome. Good for you. Okay. Anybody else, Kim? You got anyone to share?
No, nothing really exciting happening over here, unfortunately.
Well, come on. Let's get it.
We're working on it.
Yeah? All right. Hey, it's okay to bring up problems too. This is where we do it, right? This is where you get the help.
Or vent. We do that too sometimes.
Our only problem right now is that my entire team literally tested positive this weekend for COVID, all from 4th of July celebrations.
Oh my
So
God.
everyone is out this week right now.
Are they sick or did they just, somebody got
No,
positive and they were positive too?
Well, all of them are from different situations, which is wild. Ohio is just starting to spread again, it sounds like. But I have one team member that's actually feeling symptoms. Thankfully, the rest are not feeling symptoms, which is good. But I've just been like, okay, well, you know, take your time, rest. Like, we don't want you feeling symptoms either. So let's figure that out.
All right. Hey, Tom, welcome. Good morning.
Good morning.
So if you got in the call on time to see the rolling calendar PowerPoint that I had going, you might have seen that I have a new team member. I told you all last month that we were going that way. So Gary has been with us now a week and a half, 2 weeks. He's at Gwinnett working right now.
Oh, good.
And or I guess in the next 11 minutes he'll get there. So we'll see. I mean, he's you know, just getting started. He came on as a 100% commission guy, but he's got a decision to make at some point. Does he decide to buy in and eventually buy us out? And you know, 5, 6, 7 years from now, whatever. I still haven't given up on the guy from Cleveland who is, I don't know how much I told y'all, but he assessed out like incredible. I mean, like the best I've ever seen. And his name is Jason. And he's actually from Peachtree Corners. He lives in Cleveland right now with his family. The company he's working with is in merger talks. If they get acquired, he wants to take the money and come back to Peachtree Corners and buy us out.
Wow.
That's what he wants to do. And I'd love to have him. So, but it may not happen, right? Because if they don't get acquired, that falls through. He's got a teenage son who's entering his high school senior year, wants to graduate with his buddies, and so he'll stay in Cleveland.
Cleveland, Georgia.
Who knows what will happen in a year? Cleveland, Ohio.
So,
Yeah. So anyway, that's where we are.
cool.
So y'all got to keep me accountable because you know how I do when I have new team members. I tend to figure that they'll ask for help when they need it, and I don't babysit them like I should. And so I have committed to mentoring Gary. I mean, talk to him 30 minutes a day, make sure he's going, you know, using our onboarding checklist that I gave you all a copy of, just really making him equip him to thrive.
Whims, everything?
WIMS,
Okay,
well, DIMS right now,
well, yeah,
Yeah.
but still,
daily individual meetings, yeah.
Right.
In fact, Tom and I were talking about that. Tom, as you all might remember, has got this huge team reporting to him. It's not practical to have WIMS with 30 people, whatever you got, Tom. So he's been going through and figuring out who he's got to talk to weekly and who he can wait to monthly and so on. Yeah. Anything else you want to say on that, Tom?
No, that's pretty much it. Just figuring that part out. Good thing is it kind of makes sense as you get into it. So I'm grateful for that, actually.
Okay.
Al, what is Gary's background?
So he's a Dale Carnegie guy. So he was industrial sales for, some 20 years. And then the last 4 or 5 years, he was on the sales team at Dale Carnegie, who has really taken it on the chin nationwide. And in Atlanta, they went from 7 people down to 2. And he was one of the casualties. So I talked with his boss, who said that she would have kept him in a heartbeat, but she got overruled. And he assessed out pretty good. Not great, not nearly as good as Jason, but good. He's got one particular weakness, which is a huge weakness in Sandler, and that his assertiveness rating was way low. So now he's this, you talk to him.
I can sense that.
Yeah, you talk to him and he's just this nice guy, hey, love to hear back from you, love to get on your calendar, looking forward to hearing back from you. So I'm working with him on embedded commands, upfront contracts, strong calls to action, making sure he's got control on the back end. And there's just a lot. There's a lot to do. He's taken the No Guts, No Games self-study course, which is about assertiveness anyway. But if we can get that showing up, this guy can be good. So we'll see. And y'all need to watch that too on your teams. If you've got team members, and Anara's like that, absolutely, right? I mean, Anara, boy, she's really young and she's really got promise, but she is so soft-spoken and so non-assertive. Mm-hmm. And, I'm not saying don't be soft-spoken, don't be a nice person. That's not what I'm saying, but you just got to use the tools to make sure that you're in charge of what needs to happen next in all of your deals. You can't
I've noticed that Anara, she asks better questions and is more assertive on the phone and in her emails.
Yeah.
But in person, she's more timid.
Yeah. So we had a sales mastery class on negative reverse. She immediately called me.
Mm-hmm.
She said, "I can't do that. I don't do that." Pretty funny. Yeah. So she's what, 23?
Yeah.
I mean, goodness, she's got her whole life ahead of her. So there's plenty of time. You probably don't think there's that much time, but we can get her going.
I mean, I'll give her a week.
Yeah.
Wow,
Al,
good to know.
Yeah, Deborah.
just a quick question with regard to Gary. I'm pretty sure if he was in the Atlanta Dale Carnegie office, he was a client of ours. So he was a business-wise user, if I'm
Yes.
thinking of the right person. Okay.
Yes.
And then my second question is, did you talk to Alex or did you talk to her mom, who used to have the franchise?
It was a woman. I can't tell you the name.
Okay.
I have to look at my notes. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, he knows business-wise, which is great. So yeah, I didn't have
Okay.
much time with him on that. Yeah.
Okay.
And I just had to show him our particular nuances. Like he'd never done the activity manager for the call queue stuff, so we had to help him with that. And I told him to sign up for one of your training classes.
Great.
He said he would, but he's got, his head is swimming. He had 5 hours of, yesterday Sandler corporate did 5 hours of associate training. There were like 64 people all around the world on that.
Wow.
I did a little piece of it, of the agenda. I did a part on accountability in cookbook. So it was pretty cool.
Awesome.
So so I went from 10 to 3. At 3 o'clock, when I heard him getting off the call, I said, "So what do you think?" He said, "My head is swimming." So. All right. Standard rule for sales leaders number 33. Talking about the BAT triangle. You've got a handout. Sherry had put a handout, or if she's listening, she can put it in the chat box if you don't already have it, called BAT Then and Now, which is also in your Sales Mastery Toolkit, tool 9.1. We'll listen to David Madsen talk about this.
Formula for sales success. You know, as sales leaders, we want our people to be the best that they can be. And we tend to give them training on techniques and tactics. Go to this program to learn what to say on prospecting. Learn what to say when it comes to prospecting and qualifying and closing and presentation skills. And those are all important. But there's something called the success triangle. And the success triangle has 3 parts that will nurture your people, that are important, imperative for personal, sustainable growth. Behaviors, attitudes, and techniques. Everybody works on technique. That's like low-lying fruit. What should I say? How should I say that? And Sandler's known for technique. We are known for great tactics and strategies. But does that what makes Sandler great? Not really. What makes Sandler great is that we work on the other 2. And you do, as a sales leader, you need to also. So for instance, behaviors. Do your people and do you as a sales leader know what you should be doing every single day to be successful? Do they have a behavioral plan? If they know that their quota is $10 million per year, could they tell you how to break up that elephant, that 10 million, which they cannot manage? People can only manage what they can control. And can they break it down, reverse engineer their sales funnel? Could they tell you what it takes every single day as far as their personal behavior to get to that 10 million? 8 out of 10 salespeople can't tell you. As a sales leader, that should be an aha moment for you. Yes, we should work on the tactics and strategies, but if they are not behavioralists, if they don't have a behavioral plan to meet and exceed those goals, it's all for naught. Attitude. Attitude is key. If their head's not on straight, we're in trouble. So at the end of the day, you know, as kids, when the lights turned off, we were afraid of these monsters that lived under our bed. And those monsters in my house, they had a name. They were called fear, doubt, and worry. And I could hear them. And those fear, doubt, and worry, they moved out of my room and they moved into my locker as I grew older. And then they moved into my dorm room. And now, as a professional, they live in my desk. I open up my desk and then boom, there's fear. We all have fear. We all have doubt. We all have worry. Mindset, we can talk ourselves in or out of greatness. You do that every time you play a sport. You do that every time you're in a relationship. You fantasize about things that never actually happened. So, if you want to develop all 3 of these things inside you: your mindset, your behavior, and your technique. And if you can do that for you and your people, you will be on top of the world.
To learn more about the Sandler rules for sales leaders, the best-selling.
So this is interesting about that, because this tool 9.1, one of the best ways to use it is to give it to each of your team members and say, rate yourself on your attitude, on your behavior, on your technique. Where you think you are. I mean, give them a rating figure. Maybe put in the 1 through 6 blanks there. Put in some of the things like, for attitude, maybe no excuses would be one of the lineups. No excuses. Another one might be, you can't build a prospect. You can't build a prospecting unless you build a prospect. Things like that. On behavior, goals, plans, actions. So you can put in items in the 1 through 6 and give it to your people and have them self-rate. And then you can rate them also. And then when you meet with them individually, one-on-one, you can compare your ratings to their ratings and have a good conversation about the differences. But Dave Masson's right. I mean, if you're keeping track of each of your team members in all three of these categories, you're going to know, where they are, where the gaps are, what needs to be shorn up, what strengths do they have that you can leverage, that they can leverage, and then to craft some kind of an individual coaching plan. Tell me about it so I can help with that and reinforce that. So, good way to use the tool. Questions on this one? Come on, y'all. Don't make me do all the talking today.
Book and complete full-length video course is available now at Sandler.com, or you can click subscribe to get notified about future.
No comments? Seriously?
My sales team doesn't really have any issues with behavior, attitudes, or techniques right now. So
Kevin's still killing it?
he's doing well, yes.
Is he? If you had to pick one of the three areas where Kevin was most strong, which would it be?
I don't know. That's tough. I mean, both the behaviors and the attitude are really high.
Yeah, he's got a great mindset. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's such a goal-oriented guy. I might pick behaviors.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, for him. Anyway, interesting to just think through that. Think what makes your best people, and think about what makes the folks that are struggling struggle in terms of these three categories. And it might help you pinpoint where they need help. All right. All right. So the hiring topic today is the hiring funnel. And we talk about this from time to time, and I'm curious as to whether you have a hiring process that you're following. Is it close to this one? Or are you pretty much kind of winging it when you have openings? It's okay to admit that.
I think I've shared this before, but when I was interviewing at NARA and I told her some of my concerns that I had for her, she said, well, could I shadow your sales team to see what they do and like what does a day-to-day actually look like? And I was taken back because I had never thought of that. And I was like, sure. And now, I mean, I know it's not realistic and not everybody may be able to do that, but I'm definitely going to incorporate that going forward.
Are you?
Interesting.
I always get the heebie-jeebies a little bit on that.
Mm-hmm.
You got to trust the person they're shadowing, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Really, 'cause, sometimes a person who is being shadowed by a potential employee has feelings like, hey, I don't want I don't want my territory split up and half of it given to this person, so maybe I can run them off. Maybe they have feelings of like, hey, I'm going to give you the straight scoop on this company and tell you all where the bodies are buried. Of course, you don't want that either.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a minefield, potential minefield.
Mm-hmm.
It is, yeah. But I think if you have a candidate that says, can I shadow one of your people, that's a great place to reverse right there. Yeah. Say, well, help me understand what you hope to get out of that.
Mm-hmm.
What would you be looking for?
Al? Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, go ahead. I want to hear what you got to say.
Well, I was curious when you talked about concern about where the dead bodies are buried, or concerns about an existing salespeople worried about splitting up a territory in the future. why wouldn't those things come out in week 2 after the person was hired, if they exist?
Why wouldn't they come out?
Yeah. In other words, if you don't tell somebody about the good, bad, and the ugly of your company, and then you hire them, and then they find out about the bad and the ugly in week 1 or 2, then you could be, you could be in bad shape. I mean, my philosophy has always been, sometimes I have somebody shadow depending on like Gene's schedule, sometimes I don't, but I want somebody to know, I mean, I hope I don't have too many weaknesses, but I know I have some. I want somebody that's potentially coming to work for me to know as much as they can, just like I want to know as much as I can about them. Because eventually we're all going to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, remember, I started that semi-monologue with the phrase, "You got to trust the person you're going to shadow." And I think if you do, then you probably are fine. But I remember when I was, in a corporate sales role, and I had decent numbers, and I was asked to let someone shadow me who wasn't hired yet. But my mindset wasn't where it should have been. My behaviors weren't even close. I had good numbers because I was in a great territory and the phone was ringing. So, but my boss didn't really think of those things, I guess is what I'm saying. And so, I had all kinds of personal agendas and really mismatched feelings about the company that I work for that all would come through to the person shadowing me. And so they get a distorted view of the company. So that's why I'm saying, I don't disagree with you, Deborah. I'm just saying you got to trust the person you're going to allow them to shadow. You got to trust them completely and know that they're going to be taking on good stuff. All right, so back to the hiring funnel.
We've just redone ours, and we have a 2-step interview process. The struggle I'm having with is they don't want to do an assessment on that person until after we've made an offer, and I've kind of pushed back pretty hard on that. Fortunately, no one's made it past the first interview. We've interviewed 5 people, but still, I think the assessment needs to be done earlier, long before we place an offer on the table.
Yeah, and that's
Like a personality assessment?
Divine.
Yeah.
Even though, because we're hiring multiple positions, Divine has 50, 55 different categories. And I can't hire emotionally. And fortunately, the last 4 people that we've interviewed, I wasn't even involved in the interview process, which was probably the best thing I've done in a while.
Really? Wow.
Well, I mean, I teed it up, but let somebody else do the questioning, because I get emotional. I already know that. So if I can put somebody in there that's not emotional about that person, it's been pretty insightful, actually.
Yeah,
Especially 2 people from my people bank.
So the funnel here shows the assessment, after the interviews, right? And so I actually agree with you. I think that, I'm not actually inventory. I believe that you should assess after the first round of interviews, right? And before you start to get emotionally attached to a candidate or emotionally detached from a candidate. I think it's good to get an impartial view from a tool like Divine, which is now Outmatch. They got and by the way, there's more categories now with Outmatch.
Oh, good. Okay.
So,
yeah, but we're going to have you come in a couple of weeks and talk about it.
Yeah. So, any of y'all done the Outmatch yet? I don't think any of y'all have yet, right? You haven't done it. And we've had a couple of clients use it so far.
It's called Outmatch.
Outmatch. So they were a larger company. They acquired Divine about 10 months ago. And pardon me?
We used it with Tim Kim's team, Al.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I've been starting to use it, and I do like it a lot. But I didn't like it at first because the competencies were so different than Divine's. So we've been working with the Outmatch people to have the Sandler version brought over, and it looks really good now. So. Okay, anything else on this, on the hiring funnel, or having a process for hiring?
So my question is, how do you all find people recruiting wise? I mean, do you put job postings out there, or ZipRecruiter, or?
Well, when I was looking to hire another salesperson, I wanted someone younger.
Right.
So I went to our Gwinnett Young Professionals LinkedIn page, which is a lot of people that I'm not connected with.
Right.
And anybody that was in a business field, like I messaged them and sent them the job description and said, hey, do you know anybody looking?
Okay.
We're looking for a sharp young person, and just very brief to the point.
Right.
Please send them my way. And I had someone that sent me an order.
And I think that recruiting, job boards and all that, or even using placement agencies, headhunters, that is a way to go. You can do that. LinkedIn's got plenty of good tools, like just simple search. It's fine.
Sure.
But I really believe in that concept of the people bank. Even when you don't have openings, you have to constantly be aware of people that you come in contact with and ask yourself, would this person thrive in our world? And if the answer is yes, then you make sure you have their contact information somewhere, some kind of file, so that when you do have an opening, you can go to that first.
Okay.
It's just huge, because trying to navigate through the universe of potential candidates is really tough. Yeah, really hard stuff. Although easier now because of COVID. It's one of the things that COVID made better, because there are good salespeople available, whereas before March there weren't. You almost had to have a headhunter to find somebody good, take them away from wherever they were doing now, which would typically cost you more because you pay the headhunter fee plus you pay extra to get them, entice them away from what they're doing now.
Sorry.
Yeah. Other comments on this?
It's actually helpful, Al, especially it puts the people bank idea we've talked about in context. Is this in this graphic, if I wanted to, is that one of the things in our tools as far as the PDF?
Yeah, if you go to your My Training on Sandler Online and then go to SMS, Sandler Management Systems, and then into, I forget which the next tab is, but you'll find it. It's in there.
Right, thank you.
What else? Okay. All right, forecast management. So first of all, I guess I should ask you, how many of y'all actually do a forecast, a sales forecast? I hope to see all the hands. Yeah, it would be good to have all the hands.
We did before the Rona.
The Rona?
Beer barns.
What happened, Chris, that made you stop doing it?
I mean, we do it as a function of the annual budget, not an ongoing thing that we're always adjusting. So we're doing it kind of as the annual budget, and right now revenue is just a fraction of what it was. So we're not holding ourselves to that, because the opportunity for revenue just isn't the same as it was. There's still opportunity for revenue, but it's not in the same place, from the same people, buying the same things. So we have to adjust.
Okay. All right, so I guess we can start from maybe, this is a football, all right? So why would we do a forecast? What does it do for us to have a forecast? This is the audience participation part,
But plan and predict resources necessary.
Okay, so yeah, resource allocation.
Right.
Resource allocation. Some of you run the operations of your company. Some of you have to live in the same world as an operations type person. And maybe project managers, maybe anybody that has to fulfill what you sell, right? Onboard them, get them going, whatever. So some of you have that going on. Some of you have to make sure that if you have account managers or you have salespeople who also do account management, that they have the bandwidth to bring on new accounts and manage them and still get new business. So you have your own resource allocation you got to do. And the other reason, which is maybe equally important, is helping your sales reps to get those deals closed. So if you think about it, you got a pipeline. Most of you, if not all of you, have a sales pipeline. Maybe it's on your CRM and you sometimes look at it, or maybe you truly manage it on a daily basis, but you have a pipeline of things that your team members are working on. So some portion of that pipeline, the top portion, the ones that are farther along, are going to be forecasted. Do you have a tool for that? Do you know with reasonable confidence that what your sales team members say is going to close in July or August is actually going to come to fruition then? Some of y'all have heard me tell this story from my corporate days when we had a sales meeting and the sales manager brought in the operations manager into our sales meeting. That was a rare occurrence. And the sales and the operations manager came in to the meeting with a piece of paper in his hand. And he said, "Gentlemen, this is your forecast. This is what I use." We sold software. So he said, "This is what I use to manage implementations, conversions, and training and so on for the deals you bring on board." He said, "Gentlemen, I haven't read such great fiction in quite some time." What he was saying was, help, right? Help. I can't within a reasonable a sense of confidence allocate implementation teams and project management teams and training teams to business based on your forecast, because it was trash. It was. We were all, we would embellish our pipeline to make it look better than it was. And then when we were called out on it by the sales manager, we would say, "Oh yeah, but I know these guys. They're gonna," but it wasn't true. It wasn't true. I remember, in a sales meeting, we'll talk about this later today, what do you cover in a sales meeting? In those days, we covered our pipelines. Each one of us would take turns going through our pipeline. It was like a death march. And I would take forever to go through all the items on my pipeline. But if I was honest with myself, these folks will never switch. They love their current provider. These folks are at least 2 years out. These folks have no budget. These folks this, these folks that, right? So, if you would truly help your team members with forecast management, your life would be much, much easier if you do it right. So fortunately, we got tools for you. And again, Sherry, you can put these into your chat box so you can download them if you don't already have them, but you guys got them right here, don't you? Did I get them? Yeah. So the opportunity tool and the 3 opportunity planner tool, these are tools that come out of our Sandler Enterprise selling material, which Scott's very familiar with. I think most of the rest of you probably not as much, but there's some really awesome tools in SES that you can use, and you don't have to be calling on enterprise type organizations to use these tools. The opportunity tool is really cool because you can see the way it's laid out here. You could have your team members fill out one of these for their major deals they're working on. Okay, I wouldn't do this for all of them, but the majors. If you got big ones, like the one Dwayne just closed, that certainly, and maybe even ones 1/3 that amount. But whatever to you is a major, use this and have them submit it to you, so you know. And so you've got, what's the name of the account? You've got the CARE designation. Remember, CARE is keep, attain, recapture and expand. So it's strategy involved in basically kind of account. And then who the sales lead is, so the salesperson's name. And then what is the opportunity? Because maybe some of your larger accounts, you have multiple opportunities. And so then you can, have the competitive landscape here and know, where's your edge in that one, against the competitors. Who are your inside coaches over there at that organization that's helping you through this thing? Certainly the pain, that's huge, right? Hopefully when you're debriefing your people about their opportunities, you're asking them, okay, tell me about the pain. What is this particular prospect's pain? And they better be able to tell you. By the way, because Megan, you sent me that email you got. It was a prospecting email, but there was no pain under it, none at all. In fact, no reason at all for you to even agree to a meeting with this person, right? She sent you Megan sent me a prospecting email that she thought was interesting, and it was interesting. It was a good pattern interrupt, but there was no pain in there, and really no reason whatsoever for anybody to want to have an appointment with that person who sent it. And I think that a lot of times our sales team members default to, hey, I want an appointment. We got great stuff. Here's our features and benefits. And they don't talk about the pain. But if you are debriefing them based on pain and getting them focused on pain, you've got a much better opportunity to close these deals. And then what is their action plan? And what is their action plan? Some of you know Judd Robbins pretty well. TechStream used to be in this group. And he had a fairly new salesperson, and he just was always complaining because this salesperson did not have any kind of proactive plan for these major accounts. And so we started using this tool with that salesperson, and it forced him to think about proactive action steps. So great tool to use. Scott, are you and Kevin using this tool?
Not too often. We only have major accounts that we go after maybe once a year, so it's not something we use on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's the problem with not having many types of those kinds of accounts is you don't think about using the tool when it happens, right? And I understand that too, because I'm guilty of that as well.
And some of what's in that doesn't really apply to our type of sales either, just from the standpoint of the competitive landscape doesn't really exist for us in our space, since the company that we used to compete with basically is buying everybody up that we tie in with. So it's
so you might be better off using one of the other tools in that case, or all of these tools are editable tools. They're editable PDFs, and every single one of the sales mastery tools, every one of the SES tools, they're editable PDFs. So you can take one and customize it for yourself. Like in Scott's case, take out this whole section on competitive landscape. Take it out, and maybe put something else in or expand the others, or not worry about it at all. Just take it out. So you got that ability to do that. So that's a good one. But here's another one that I also have for you as a handout: the 3 opportunity planner, or the top tool, 3 opportunity planner. And this is where you don't have to have a major account, but you can have your team members each give you what is their plan for their top 3 they're working on. What are the top 3 I'm working on? And as it says here, the 3 highest probability deals closing within 60 days. What is the value proposition? And what are the actions going forward? So pretty simple tool, and probably would get less pushback from your team members on this one, because it's a lot easier for them. And if you're using a CRM, maybe you can call this information. Maybe you already have reports set up to call this kind of information. But I think that there's value in getting the team member to actually fill this out, because then they start thinking strategically and then tactically, as opposed to just filling out the fields in the CRM. If that makes any sense. Going on, Chris. Oh, okay. Comments on this?
I didn't realize they were editable.
Yeah. Well,
That's even better.
if you had a better trainer, you'd know that. Yeah.
We have the best already. You're human. You're human. Okay.
You know what? When we have our recon meetings, okay, I want y'all to be brutally honest with me and give me good feedback. I need to know where we can improve. I got to know that. And I got some good feedback yesterday from one of our clients that I wouldn't have gotten normally without having those kinds of conversations. And by the way, when you have recon meetings, client review meetings with your clients, make sure that you give them permission as part of the upfront contract for the meeting to be brutally honest with you so you can learn, get feedback and learn. All right, let's take a 6.5 minute break. Wait, Deborah, you got something to say?
Oh.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say I resisted doing any kind of forecasting for a long time because in our business, we didn't have the operational need that you were describing. And my experience from my own experience in my former company and just talking with others that the forecasting was a bunch of BS as you were describing. But we do a very modified forecast now weekly. We only, in our meetings, we only share something that's actually got a clear future and a date certain. And what I've noticed that the benefit from doing that is not that everyone turns out to be a sale, because sometimes stuff happens, but that our salespeople are much more realistic about assessing their own potential sales, and sort of sharing them out loud makes everybody else a little conscious of how that works.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's been a positive thing. And the other thing is, if somebody doesn't have stuff, if their pipeline doesn't look good, we praise in public and punish in private. So if it's bad, not that everybody doesn't know, but I think it's really important that you don't set people up for embarrassment and, well, what's wrong with you stuff, because then they're just going to BS.
Yeah, and we're actually going to talk about that in our next session a little bit after the break when we get into running effective sales meetings. What are the best practices for that? And I agree with you. That's, that praise in public and remediation stuff in private is really important to do. And these tools, the 3 Opportunity Planner and the Opportunity Tool, are great to use in a sales meeting where you have a salesperson maybe have a case study of a deal they're working on and let everybody help them with brainstorming action plans from, going forward. And it really helps everybody to learn. So good stuff, Deborah. Thank you for that. Anybody else? All right, 6.5 minute break.
Sounds like things are going well. Excited?
Yeah, I used my scientific calculator in high school.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
Okay, so Sherry put in the chat box the link to that, to the hiring funnel.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, so never split the difference. Thank you, Deborah, for bringing this to us. And Sherry went out and got me the executive summary on it, as well as the book itself. So,
Oh, you got Cliff Notes.
yeah, Cliff
Cliff
Notes
Notes.
version. Yeah,
I didn't know that was
there.
available.
Yeah, it's a lot thinner.
Yeah.
It's like 1/4.
Look at you.
1/4 of it. So, and so we decided that today we would look at chapters 1 and 2 and share our takeaways from chapters 1 and 2 of the book. So who wants to start? Really? Scott, you gonna talk?
No, I didn't have any. I've already shared my takeaways on those first 2 chapters the last 2 months. So
I want you to reshare now that we're all reading.
reshare. Okay. All right, well, give me a minute then, and I will share.
All right. While he's doing that, let me say this about negotiating. One of my colleagues, Clint Badcock out of Tampa, just released another Sandler book on negotiating. And so I haven't read it yet. I'm going to read it. And but there's also a bunch of other information that goes with it. Plus on Sandler Online, that you can get the negotiating course in Sandler Online. So it's in there. But everybody keeps talking about that this book seems to have Sandler baked into it. Well, guess what? I found out the inside scoop on that. This guy, Tal Raz, who is the co-author. So Chris Voss is in big type, and it says with Tal Raz. Well, Tal Raz was a disciple of Guru Ganesha, one of the most famous Sandler trainers of all time, back in the day.
Wow.
So there's a clue, all right there. Somewhere in there might be a clue.
Interesting.
Yeah. So,
All right, so that makes a lot of sense then, because yes, it is uncanny how Sandler-esque it is. So my takeaway was, I think, on page 44, how to confront and get your way without confrontation, and using your late night FM DJ voice, which I don't have a good one, but have to work on that.
Mark can do it for you.
Yeah, Mark can do that for me. Start with I'm sorry, mirror, and their version of mirroring is slightly different than what we use, but it is similar in that they're essentially using active listening techniques, restating and paraphrasing, where they instead say repeat the 3 most critical words from the previous sentence that you're negotiating with.
The 3 most critical, or the last 3, right?
Right.
Sometimes the last 3, yeah.
And then repeat the process again.
All designed to do what?
Keep
Who
them
knows?
calm and get your way, because you keep under control.
Yeah. And then one of the reasons why you can keep control is because the other person then is more likely to give you more context, to embellish why they said what they said. And it also crystallizes in their mind what they want. Remember, everybody's guided by what they want and what they want. Good. Thank you, Scott. Anybody else?
I'm a little behind, but what I'm listening to it, I'm not reading it. But when they said, make sure you use empathy
Yes.
when negotiating,
Yes.
and that just really stuck with me. And I feel like I do that, but I didn't. When I do that, I didn't realize that's what I was doing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's really good to do, because almost everybody, when they find themselves in a negotiating situation, it becomes adversarial pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This is what I want. It's not what you want. You want something different. I don't want to give that to you. Or I don't want to give what you want. So you just go back and forth adversarial. So empathy breaks all that down.
Mm-hmm.
So that you're not trying to overwhelm the other person with your viewpoint.
Mm-hmm.
You're just really trying to understand what their viewpoint is. And it's true to them. Which, by the way, is a great way to do active listening.
The thing that I'm starting to take away from this is the base core of everybody. We're all driven by emotion.
Yeah.
And how we tap into those emotions. And I think by the way we approach things, the way our tone of voice, if I have to use my outside voice, which is deep and very loud, it gets the point across pretty quick.
Yeah.
But again, I think emotion is the key to all of this.
Intimidating.
Well, I'm not trying to be. I don't like to be that way, but I can if I need to.
Yeah.
But I think emotion, to me, is that underlying thing that's always there that sometimes we forget. So.
I was a little worried about studying negotiating for business from someone who, was a hostage negotiator and, true hostile situation.
I missed that part. So when I first started listening to it, I was like, did I get the wrong book?
Yeah. So
One
I've
thing
got, go ahead.
One thing I loved, Al, is on page 21, he, at the end of the first chapter, he makes a statement, negotiation is the heart of collaboration. And so something that I've seen sometimes that people get wrong about Sandler is that they think of Sandler as something they're doing to people to get the upper hand, to get their way. But I say it's not something we do to people, it's something we do with people. That Sandler's really just, it's not about, it's not about getting your way, it's about getting everybody's way. It's about figuring out the best thing for everybody at the table, and getting more open and honest and transparent discussion helps us get there. And so I love that statement, that it's not, negotiation is the heart of collaboration, means it's not a adversarial interaction, but a collaborative one.
Yeah, so Louis, I imagine you have the same issue with your clients that I have with some of mine, right? Mark and Patrick and Chris, yeah. Who like to talk about, I Sandlered them, right? It's a verb, like a weapon or something, right?
Yeah.
I use my Sandler mojo when they succumb to my powers.
Yeah, and?
Yeah. Right, Chris, huh?
I mean, I'm just trying to figure out how to do it to other people.
Well, Al, we sometimes put that sign over our head and actually do it to them. So it kind of is a verb.
Yeah, that's true.
I've definitely Sandlered some dates before.
Yeah.
How'd that work out for you?
I don't think closing rates are appropriate in here, Megan.
That was perfect.
Touche.
Nice.
Zing, that's like 10 points, I think.
Yeah, I've heard more than one of very successful Sandler trainer, including David Mattson, say that the turning point in their career as a Sandler trainer was when they stopped using it as a weapon.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, it's pretty important, I think, to get to that point.
Yeah, pretty well got to say that at least for me, I've found that it's really just more about understanding. It's making everything a human interaction. It's understanding how we're wired, how others are wired. It's really just practically applied empathy.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's a good phrase. Practically applied empathy. I love that.
Yeah, and for us, it allows us to build trust with our prospects and our clients. And I think that's really why we are successful. It's not that we're doing something to somebody, it's that we are generating trust, and then when we actually do close the sale, we back that up with actually that it does do what we have talked to them about. So I agree. It's not a weapon, but
right.
I think, Scott, you make a really good point, because people come into a negotiation with all sorts of expectations, whether it's a hostage negotiation and they hate the police and the FBI, or a sales situation when all salespeople are idiots and liars. And so when you use this approach, it at least neutralizes some of those feelings, and then you can move forward together.
absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Deborah, because both sides feel pressure, and I think if we can relieve the pressure, it's easier to get good things done.
I think the popular buzzword for a lot of these things that we're talking about is emotional intelligence.
Yeah, it is. So my takeaway, I've got two, one from chapter 1 and one from chapter 2. Chapter 1, and again, this is right down Sandler alley, but it says people will typically avoid a loss versus achieve an equal or greater gain. I always talk about the stronger pain is the negative pain, right? Avoiding a loss. It's stronger than achieving a gain. And we need to keep that in mind. So when we're negotiating with people, we're trying to make sure that they feel what loss they're trying to avoid, because that will more likely get us in a better situation with regard to the investment they have to make. And then the second one, which is into chapter 2, which I love, is a move that you would make after the negotiation has gone down the road a ways, and the prospect is insisting on discount or better terms or higher scope for not a corresponding higher investment. And you use a negative verse like, so you've decided to kill this deal. Now, got to be careful with that phrase, because you could, your tonality can kill the deal, right? Your tonality can really turn the other person off. So you really have to practice it. And I don't know if y'all do this, but you certainly ought to have your team members practice phrases that are difficult and tough out loud, with you, with each other, with themselves, riding in the car or looking in the mirror in the bathroom. I mean, practice. And I do this all the time. I'll practice a phrase like, so you've decided to kill this deal. I'll just say it over and over and over again, try to get the right tonality, so that when I'm in the sales call itself, I'll use the right tonality and not come across as smart alecky or having an edge to my voice or some kind of a, little professor, hidden motive here.
Al, where was that? Kill the deal.
That one was in the Cliff Notes. I tried to find it in the body of the actual book itself, and I just haven't found it.
Mm.
But it's in there, chapter 2 somewhere. By the way, chapter 3 is going to talk about tactical empathy. So practically, what'd you say, Tom? Practically applied empathy?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah. I like it. Anybody else have
And when you mean practically, what do you mean by that?
Well, we can theoretically understand empathy and maybe have it as a concept or sort of abstract, but when I get up close and personal with it and actually begin to have it affect how I think, what I say, what I pay attention to, it's actually just putting handles on a subject and making it useful.
And do you internally feel that?
Yeah, I do actually. I mean, I don't know if I'm just wired to be somewhat empathetic, but it's plus the approach that Sandler's used, I've used for 20-something years as a salesperson. So I don't know. Seeing things from the other person's perspective, and at the same time trying not to get so sympathetic that you become ineffective. But it's useful.
So on page 47, it's got a bunch of bullet points there, key lessons. And the third bullet's what we've been talking about. People who view negotiation as a battle of arguments become overwhelmed by the voices in their head. Negotiation is not an act of battle, it's a process of discovery. Pretty cool. So I got one right now I'm working on. And it's two partners in this company, and they're Pakistani. So the culture comes into play here in terms of their culture of not paying list price, right? Well, the thing about that is that culture or that point of view assumes that the selling party has artificially inflated their list price. That's where they're coming from. And of course, we don't come from that, that predisposition. We don't think we've artificially inflated our, list price. So right away you have a conflict of understanding right there. You have one party that says you obviously are overpriced on purpose, and the other party that says, what do you mean? We should probably be raising our prices as much value as we're giving. And so right away, that's a disconnect. All right, y'all get that? You understand what I'm talking about? And so sure enough, the first move was made by them, where they asked for unilateral concession. They asked for a price break without any reason behind it. So thinking about your question about David Scher, about practically based empathy, I need to understand why they feel they should ask for a discount, right? What about my offering? And again, my offering, by the way, is never going to be taken in a context outside of their pain, right? This is so important that your team members understand that. Your price tag always exists in the context of the prospect's pain. And that's a mindset thing in your sales reps mind, that they've got to understand that context, because otherwise they might start thinking, we really should reduce our price because that's a big number. I think, talking to Anara, talking about Chairman's Club level, she thinks that's a big number, right? It's a big number. And some of you had that same paradigm in your sales team's members' minds.
Pocket change.
Yes. So that's, it's healthy for us to think that we should be raising our prices.
Mm-hmm.
But if you come into the negotiation conversation itself with those two opposing views, then you have built-in conflict. And of course, the other thing that's going on here with the one I'm dealing with is that they want to do this through email. And I refuse to do this through email, right? You just can't. You have to be talking to people. So they sent me this email asking for the concession on Saturday, which, excuse me, which I intentionally sat on it until Monday. Why? Why?
So you don't train them to email you on Saturday?
Which is all tied to
Control.
and
Respect.
well, yes. So control and respect. Thank you, guys. That's you're right. Which those are all things underneath what I call equal business stature. Right. If I respond to their Saturday email on Saturday, I'm telling them I'll jump when you ask me to jump. That's not happening, right? Saturday, I don't work on Saturdays. Now, do I check my email? Of course I do. So do you. but I'm not going to respond on Saturday. So on Monday, I responded and I said, great questions. When this week can we hop on a call to discuss it? That was Monday morning. I sent that email in response to their email. I have yet to hear from them. So now it's been 6 days.
Oh, wow.
Where are they at, Al?
Where are they? Well, they're in, actually one of them is physically located in Florida. It's an Atlanta-based company.
Okay.
Actually in Suwanee, yeah. Two partners.
I'm just curious, would you, if they were local, your response have been, when can we get together?
Yeah, it's a little bit weird during COVID, right? So I'm taking it in two parts, where I'm saying, hey, when can we discuss this? And when they give me, if they ever do, what their availability, and I gave them my availability, of course, which is all expired now, for this week. But whenever we do that, I'll say, you want to meet face to face or you want to do it by Zoom?
Okay.
And we've met by Zoom twice before.
Oh, wow.
And, for the discovery, the pain, the budget, decision-making process. And one of them that never turns his camera on. So that's telling also in itself, right? Anyway, the whole point of all that is, if you attempt to negotiate via email, don't ask me for help, okay? It's not going to happen.
Shouldn't be doing that, I take it. Okay.
Because guess what I'll say? Why are you trying to do this through email? How can you have empathy in email? How can you do it?
Really can't.
Yeah. How can you say, so you decide to kill this deal in email and you make sure that they take it the right way with the right tonality? Can't do it. You can't have any give and take. You can't have any sighs or tilt of your head, or you can't do that through email. You cannot do it through email. So stop letting your people negotiate deals through email. Stop it. They can't do pain conversations through email. They can't do budget conversations through email. They can't build rapport very well through email. You can do some things. They certainly can't negotiate through email. We got to get our team members out of that email paradigm. Just because our prospects want to communicate that way doesn't mean we should. End of lecture. Who else has a takeaway from the book?
I think he hit some good points of, and I think you guys are right, of being really trying to be empathetic and slowing the process down. We tend to be in a rush. And I think, you know, even when you looked at his hostage negotiation situation where they thought that they'd get, you know, they would solve it in 10 minutes, but the guy was a psychopath. And the whole thing was squirrely to begin with. So we never really know what the situation is, and we assume too much to start. And if we go in based upon what we think we know, we don't know jack. And then we get burned and we screw up the deal and waste our time.
Waste our time. I mean, is that, I wasn't thinking that would be the worst problem here.
No, it's not,
Wasted.
but you know, but time is an important factor. I mean, it's like you get all emotionally involved in the situation. You try to solve it, you know, like as I forget who said they're wired and empathetically. So you go into it maybe wired to try to, you know, you want to make them a customer. You want to make things work. You try to get information, but they're running on a different pattern than you. And we go into it like we go into maybe every situation instead of maybe thinking every situation is could turn violent.
Yeah.
And we need to be aware of that. That's basically what I'm saying. And a waste of time is we're wasting our time because we're not being effective to do good discovery, which is really what the call is all about, which again, to me, comes up with if we have a really strong upfront contract, and if we really do good pre-call planning, then I think we will be able to avoid some of it, but we'll still learn, and that's part of the discovery. And you don't want to waste their time. You don't want to waste your time. And like these Pakistani guys, maybe they're just not the right fit for you. You know, I mean, there's times where you just say, hey man, it's just not the right fit.
Yeah. Well, okay, so David, this is huge what you're talking about, because you think of it in the context of your team members, right? Aníbal, as an example. So how strong is his pipeline right now?
Right now, I mean, you know, you say a great thing, you know, like my team, like Aníbal, who has spent years training with you, is like he never ever trained with you. What do I do about that? You know, he's not, everything he needs is so spoon-fed from us. He hasn't been able to improvise on his
so
own.
That's the background. So how is this pipeline right now? How strong is it?
I think all their pipelines are really good, but I don't think that they're properly controlling it and getting good questions. His pipeline is hurting.
Okay, so thank you for that. So if Aníbal has a prospect who wants to negotiate price, okay, is Aníbal going to be willing to walk away from that deal?
You know, it brings up a really interesting, you know, we had a really interesting scenario with a guy who called in, and the guy didn't want to hear anything. All he looked at our products as that, like, as Ray Lombardi says, as chewing gum at the checkout counter. And he did not want to talk about anything. All he wanted was a low price and delivery. And this deal went constantly sideways. But eventually I basically said, look, this is what we do. If you want to play with us, great. If you don't, good luck. Basically something like that. And I just put it to bed. And then a week later, they call us to say they want to do business. It was very strange. You know, I still don't have a beat on this guy and his team, as much as we try to do discovery with him. So there are these situations where you have almost like psycho people
So yeah, so the guy had pain. The
Well,
needle mover actually got him to say out loud.
Well, the pain, we still, I still don't know what this guy's real pain
Now, did
is.
the whole thing happen in email, or were there phone conversations?
Both. It was phone conversations, emails from multiple sources. It was a very, I mean, Al, I wanted to get you involved in it, but it was so squirrely that it was like quicksand to begin with.
Yeah.
And I'm still actually, as we go through these discussions and I hear everybody talk about their situation, this guy is still so in my head of how do I deal with this kind of character, because I've never really dealt with a character like this before, ever. He's such an anomaly.
Well, but everybody's an anomaly in some way. You know, Megan and I, at the break, Megan and I were talking about a deal that one of her team members has. That's you know, probably 8 o'clock on the pendulum, probably 8 o'clock hostile.
Right.
You can't handle that through email, right? You just can't do it. You cannot do it. You have to be talking to people. Yeah. So I love the fact.
But Al, these guys are like, it's almost like this guy is on. It's almost like this guy's on speed, and he's like a D beyond, and it's so weird. I haven't been able to figure the trigger to just, you know, have this guy, you know, take a bong hit and chill down. You know, this guy is not like that.
But I like the fact that you were not going to keep following the thread and keep trying to give in and getting back to the table. You were willing to walk away from it. And the fact that you did eventually have pain enough to make him come back to the table himself is very telling, right? I mean, so that's the whole point that I wanted to make with my takeaway on the book, right, is that that negative pain is so powerful. So powerful, and if we focus on that's negative pain.
Are you guys using Zoom when you call people? Like, let's say, are you guys doing a ton of Zoom meetings where you're actually seeing these people face to face?
Yeah.
I don't ever do anything like that.
Yeah.
I think most of my clients are, right? Tom, you're doing that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's our first step now. In progressive call.
So your customers are into that. The response.
Increasingly, they're really comfortable with it.
All right, that's good to know. So I think that's something that we need to start doing, because I think we don't see these people. You know, I see their face on LinkedIn, right? I see what this guy or woman, this man or woman looks like, but I don't really see them.
So David, what we have seen is, because we've always done, I mean, that's been nearly all of our sales process is all done via teleconferences and web meetings. But what we have seen over the last 3 to 4 months, I guess, is that in the past, people would never join a web meeting with their camera. And now it's almost offensive when people don't join a web meeting and have their camera enabled. And I actually happen to have a laptop that doesn't have a camera on it. People always ask me to turn mine on. So I have to use my other laptop, which is what I'm on for this meeting.
So do you guys feel it's offensive that I don't have you guys on video?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right. So I will correct that. I will correct that.
I'm glad that you don't have video on, you know, really.
But if I was but if it was a business meeting, like with a client, and they didn't put their camera up, I would ask them.
Yeah, that's what we see routinely happening. It's can everybody please turn on your cameras?
Right.
And everybody, please turn on your camera and mute your mic unless you're speaking.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's interesting, David, that you've got the head trash about your customers aren't going to want to turn their camera on, and you're also not turning your camera on. You know, you don't have a camera on. So this is often, you know, it's often true of us that we sell the way we buy, and we think all of our customers behave the way we behave.
Right.
This is again, somewhat of a new way of doing business. There are people that are training folks on how to effectively communicate over Zoom so that you're looking at the camera, for example, and not anywhere else when you're talking. Because if you look at the camera, then the other people think that you're looking at them. Whereas if you're looking at yourself, it doesn't seem like you're talking to the others. And there's all sorts of other little takeaways.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, so it's placement of the camera and what you look at. And it's hard for me because the monitor that y'all are on is about 3 feet lower than the camera. And I find myself looking at y'all on the monitor instead of looking at the camera. And so I'm going to mount the monitor up right under the camera here in the next couple weeks, hopefully, or less. Plus, Mark is helping me to change our lighting in here so that the lighting is better because I'm such a dark face right here. And we're gonna work on that to get that. So when you're having meetings with your prospects, you know, for example, look at the difference between Scott and say Tom right now in terms of lighting. See what I'm saying? You know, as if you were a prospect and Tom was calling on you and Scott was calling on you, which one would you feel more comfortable with right now? Right. So I'm back in my office, I've got it so where I got some lights that I can put on myself during Zoom meetings that lighten my face up.
But here's something that's been an outcome for us from this Zoom meetings generation now, or opportunity. We're following up with video email. Yeah. And it's been phenomenal, the reaction that we've gotten.
Look at the camera and say that.
We've been using video email follow-up, and the reaction has been phenomenal because now they can see our face and emotion and everything. And if you want, I wouldn't mind sending you all one myself so you can see it. And it's cheap application cost, but the result has been phenomenal.
It'd be great to see that, actually.
Okay.
LinkedIn has a capability of doing a video too. Did you know that?
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm just saying, sending out a video email after a Zoom meeting, the connection has been phenomenal.
That makes sense. Just a quick thing. You guys keep saying Zoom, and I know we use it for this. I'll find for us, at least our industry, we tend to not use Zoom. We'll be Teams, we'll be WebEx, we'll be whatever. I know Zoom's actually like the functionality of Zoom, but we tend to default to Teams, and it tends to work pretty well with our phone.
It doesn't really matter, Tom, as long as you've got some kind of video capability.
No, I understand that. I feel like a little outcast here because everybody's speaking Zoom.
Oh, okay. No, we got lots of folks that use Microsoft Teams or Skype, or GoToMeeting. I mean, it doesn't matter as long as you're able to look people in the eye. That's the whole point, right? Look people in the eye.
That's correct.
See the change in facial expression. Just like
and making it easy for your clients to be able to access. If there's too many steps, I've noticed that there's been some issues with that.
Yep. All right, David. Hey, turn this camera on. Woo!
Yeah, we don't tend to use Zoom for any of our business meetings either.
What do you use?
So it depends. We have to use, with some of the government agencies, we have to use GoToMeeting because of security stuff, and that's one of the only ones that's approved. And then Teams we also use quite a bit, but we get invites from clients on, I probably use at least 6 different meeting platforms when I get invites from people.
Yeah. Well, we changed from GoToMeeting to Zoom because of the breakout room capability that Zoom has.
Yeah, and that's really nice.
Yeah, it really is for role playing and small group activities, which we do a lot in Sales Mastery. So it's been great for us. And then and GoToMeeting kept saying they were coming out with that, but they never did. At least not as of April when we switched over. So okay, so let's go on then to the management topics. We got 2 management topics. We've got 45 minutes left. So the first one is about running effective sales meetings. And how I'd like to do this is actually to brainstorm. So we've got, 10, 11 ninjas here in this meeting, and we can pull our collective thought processes and what are the best practices for effective sales meetings? And I'll put Deborah's up here to start with, which is praise in public and criticize in private. I can't. What is not doing it? Criticize private. What else? Best practices for sales meetings.
Consistent agenda.
Consistent. Wait, what do you mean by consistent?
Notice you have the same topics month or weekly. Every week you're talking about the same basic things.
Okay, so they know what to expect.
They know what to expect.
Know what to expect. Yeah, no surprises.
Yeah.
If you can, right? And what I do like about agendas is that they be consistent, but you have, you change it up here and there. Maybe
Sure.
have guest speaker come in. Maybe have a new offering.
But there are certain things that are discussed all the time.
Yeah. What else?
Yeah, I'd say at least from my personally, the biggest challenge is make sure I'm clear on why we're meeting and what we need to accomplish. If I've got a clear goal, let's meet. If not, let's kill the meeting.
Yeah.
And the other thing is to have that little mini version of an upfront contract on the front end.
Absolutely. What else?
I'd say also try to get, whoever is part of that meeting, sales meeting, prior to the meeting, maybe they've got a topic that they'd like to discuss. So that would benefit the team. So I think that it wouldn't be a bad idea to get input from the team.
Yes. Well ahead of time, as much as you can. So they have time
Right.
So they can send you what they want to talk about.
That's included in the agenda.
Right, and you have an opportunity to veto it if you want to, nicely,
Right. Right.
or develop it into a better idea or whatever. Yeah.
So I meet with the sales team one-on-one weekly, and then I meet with them as a team weekly with just the sales team, and then we meet weekly as a membership department, so the services and sales.
Okay.
So a lot of time in our one-on-one, when certain things come up, a lot of times they're like, I think we should talk about this as a team.
Yeah, so that get
So
in.
then we bring it up and talk
Yeah.
about it as a group.
Excellent. Yeah, get input from the team. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and no purple squirrels.
No purple squirrels, which means, Tom, for those of us who aren't familiar with that term,
The folks that haven't done their stuff are trying to distract you with a conversation. It's not on point.
okay, so if it's not on the agenda,
No.
yeah.
I would like to hear, when you guys have a team sales meeting, what is the format that you follow? Or do you have one?
We use a 5-mat, not a format, but yeah, sorry.
There's absolutely no humor in David's sales meetings. None allowed.
I mean,
Come on, Deborah. Come on. Can't believe you haven't said it yet.
Well, yes, we do. Well, we actually don't do role plays anymore in our sales meetings.
What?
We do them on a special role play meeting
Okay.
because our sales meetings were getting too long.
Yeah, they were pretty long.
oh, cool.
So we have that as a different session, but we do role plays every week. I have some mixed feelings about that, but yes.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think is really important that you do very well, Al, is to seek the opinions of the people that aren't generally the talkers. They have opinions and they have thoughts, even though they may not be sharing them. And unless you really ask, you're probably not going to get it.
You know, that's a
Because
great
the
point.
talkers will monopolize.
And by the way, that particular point is it's got a little nuance to it when you do meetings via video conferencing. How's that, Tom? I won't use the word Zoom. If you use video conferencing for your meetings and you ask someone specifically for their input, give them time. Give them time to think. Give them time to find the unmute button, because there's that extra timing thing that goes on, using video conferencing that's not necessarily there in a face-to-face meeting. So make sure that you give them time. The other thing too is when you if you're the one facilitating the meeting and you ask a general question to the group, it is absolutely perfectly fine for there to be 5, 10, 15 seconds of silence, because that means that they're thinking about the answer to your question. So, like as an example, I've taken David aside in the past. I've taken Mark aside in the past. I've taken Chris aside in the past. When in the sales mastery classes, Gene's another example. Kevin's another example. People that know the answers to my questions in the sales classes, I have taken them aside and said, when I ask a question in the group, don't you answer it. Because here's what happens is the rest of the people in the meeting stop thinking because they know that Mark's going to answer. And so they don't even think. So when you have people that tend to talk a lot in your sales meetings, take them aside one-on-one and say, when I ask a question in the sales meeting, and I don't want you to answer it right away. But if there's too much silence, I'll look right at you, and that's your cue that it's okay to answer. But that might take a while. So I guess my point is it's okay to have silence in meetings because people are thinking. And that's happening, which is good. So the same thing with role plays. You can use two kinds of role plays. You can have a previously scripted role play, not really scripted, but have these scenarios laid out because you don't want to script a role play. But then there's also impromptu. So someone brings up a scenario that they're working on, and you can say, well, let's play it out. And then you can ask the rep, which side do you want to play? The rep side or the prospect side? And if they say the prospect side, that's cool. Let them do that. But then the upfront contract is after you play the sales rep side and you role play with them, then they got to do it again and switch roles. That's how people learn, is they learn by saying it, doing it in the context of the sales meeting or the sales class, in case of our role plays. And then when they do it in the actual sales call, it's not the first time they've done it. What else? Best practices for sales meetings.
Donuts.
Food is always good.
Probably a good idea to, throughout the year, occasionally ask privately for feedback from the attendees. Because the person that's conducting the meeting always thinks it's wonderful and brilliant. Doesn't always happen in the reverse.
Yes. So, and like Megan was saying, those WIMs, those individual meetings, is a great place to ask for that kind of feedback.
Al, you've also said though, let a team member conduct it. Yes,
absolutely. Now give them time to prepare.
Right.
And maybe get with you to run their plan by you so you can bless it. But yeah, so let the team members lead, either all or part of it. So all are part of the agenda. It's a great way to grow your people. What else?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Should we have a not list? Oh,
do we do a debrief?
Yeah, I want to talk about that. So when we talked about the 3 opportunity planner tool or the opportunity tool, either one, I like it if you have on your sales meetings, if you have team members prepare one of their deals they're working on, prepare the case study to present to the group. And then everybody debriefs them on it and helps them to figure out good tactics and strategies to use. But see, the real benefit of that is not getting the input from the rest of the team. The real benefit from that is getting the team member who presents their opportunity to think through it, really think through it. It's amazing how you get a different perspective when you know you got to share it with your boss and your team, as opposed to just on your own thinking what I should do with this account. So debrief, but maybe in the context of a case study.
Real,
That's a good one. Yes.
yeah, Al, one other thing, what I would do is I would take notes from the agenda and then fill out that onto the agenda and then email it to everybody, say this is what we talked about and this is what next steps are, so that, you know, people were more proactive going forward.
Yes,
Yeah, that's really good.
yes, thank you.
Sure.
And now, also, I would say that just like in selling, don't allow there to be any mutual mystification. I mean, I just keep the communication real and blow through the fluff that's there. I just think that really matters, and folks are really receptive to that as long as we're a little bit gracious about it.
Yeah.
Would accountability have part of that?
So what do you mean by accountability?
Well, next steps, if there's next steps, I mean, don't you want to make sure they're done? The next
Yeah,
time we
without a
look at it.
doubt.
Yeah. So maybe part of the next meeting is, okay, last meeting we said Joe was going to do this and Susie was going to do that. So why don't you give us your Cliff Notes version of where you are on that?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great to have next steps, but then next meeting, nothing's talked about. Okay.
So, Mark, what you're saying is inspect what you expect.
Basically,
Yes.
yeah.
Very good. How about this one? Start on time and
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
And
end on time. Start on time and end on time. Do what you say you're going to do. Sales reps hate open-ended timing meetings, and they start to blame you for that. And then that's when the animosity starts to creep in. So even if it's going to be a long meeting, as long as they know it's going to be a long meeting, but they know that, you know, at 9:30 they're going to be back at their desk, or you know, back on their calls, or whatever it is. That's a good thing. What else?
This is going to sound like it's a little bit enabling for people, but I start all my meetings at 5 minutes after the hour. And because number one, people that get there early catch up with each other. And then secondly, the folks that are habitually later on time.
Okay. So what do you do with someone who, if it's going to start at 8:05, comes in at 8:10?
That'd be a conversation offline. Don't need to happen in the meeting, but
That goes back to this right here.
yeah, it does. But I mean, I just, you know, in all fairness, not every people are we're all wired differently about time sensitivity. So I just find that works really well. If I start a meeting at 2:05, most people in their mind think 2 o'clock. So it's been a reasonable hack for me, and I do a lot of meetings.
Okay. By the way, don't wait. Don't wait.
Correct.
The meeting's supposed to start at 8:05, and not everybody's there at 8:05. Start the meeting. And when the stragglers come in, don't catch them up.
Correct.
That's unfair to the people that were on time.
I suppose this goes more to company culture, but it's important to remember to celebrate success.
Oh, yeah. That's
Yeah, you're right.
Part of the praise in public, right? Yeah, celebrate success. All right, how about a not list? Let's do a not list.
Wow.
What should we not do in sales meetings?
Waste time.
What do you mean by what? Give me an example. Excuse me.
Go off script is maybe a better term. Stay on script.
All right. Stay on track. You are the timekeeper. You are the keeper of the are we on track or not. If you're going to let one of your team members run the meeting, make sure that when you do your pre-brief with them, that you make that point. So I guess from a not standpoint, it's not get off track, right? What else do we not do? Don't do the pipeline death march.
Pipeline death march? What do you mean by that, Al?
That's what I was talking about earlier, where each person goes through their whole pipeline, one item at a time. Guess what your sales reps don't care about?
Pipeline death march.
Yeah, somebody else's pipeline.
Yes. Boy, you talk about talking behind your back, how, man, Al's sales meetings are so bad. They're such a waste of time. Where's that come from? Comes from the pipeline death march. Yeah.
So Al, I've got a term for you can use. No meeting induced narcolepsy.
Oh, I'm not sure I can even spell it.
Well, narcolepsy. NARCOPLESY, narcolepsy.
NAR.
It's when you put people to sleep. It's basically where the meeting is like, you're just nodding out because it's that boring.
Yeah.
But not David's meetings.
Not Davis means. There's all kinds of things.
No,
By the way,
I think it goes back to the plan. If you have a good agenda that's short and sweet and, hits the points that you need to. Oh, I know. Don't have too much of an agenda because then it becomes too long. Don't make the agenda too long.
Right. Thank you. By the way, several of you have done what I'm getting ready to give you as something you can do. I know Chris has done it, Deborah's done it, and David's done it. Invite me to a sales meeting. And I can either be there just to observe or I can take part of the agenda, however you want to do it, but I'm glad to do that kind of thing.
Oh, great idea.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So a not is don't not to forget to invite out.
There you go.
So how
Any
long,
kind of a third party, bringing in a third party of any kind occasionally is a good way to keep it fresh.
how long are your sales meetings usually?
45 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, we personally keep mine to about 35-minute window, and I'm pretty tight on that. We get right into the meat of things quickly, and works out well.
So under an hour at least.
My meetings are over an hour, but it's sales and marketing that we do together and customer, client acquisition, customer service. So we're at an hour and a half.
You think about it, in a 40-hour work week, it's not unreasonable to have your sales team members attend an hour-long meeting or an hour and a half or even 2 hours. It's just not unreasonable. It's as long as you're giving them good stuff, as long as they're getting stuff that's helping them to sell.
No, I agree with you. I'm such a stickler for pay time, no pay time. That I don't want to take folks. I want folks freed up to sell, and so I tend to do shorter meetings. I'll do regional meetings. I don't usually pull our whole team together, all 30 folks. I'll break them up in 7 regions around the country. It's a lot more interactive with 6 to 7 people in a meeting, I find, and I can get a lot more done that way. It's more on me from a meeting standpoint, but I feel like it's very effective.
Yeah. So what day of the week and what time do you run the meetings?
Tend to do Thursdays and Fridays. I work across the time zones, so I'll tend to start meetings at not any earlier then 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock, maybe if I have to. And typically it's a 4 o'clock window, 3 and 4. And I'll usually do my last call in California at 3 o'clock Pacific time, so 6 o'clock my time on Friday.
Okay.
Oh,
Poor salespeople have to stay in the office until
goodness.
Friday at 3 o'clock. Oh my gosh.
You're tough. I
We
don't like-
do 8:15. Our Dallas people is 7:15, but they were always allowed to do that from home. And it's early for them.
Okay. Anything else on team selling? I'm sorry, on sales meetings. Okay, so let's wrap up today with team selling. This is a topic that most of you have had before with us, and so it's good review. But remember, the Sandler tagline is "There's power in reinforcement." That tagline is for a reason. It's based on psychology. It's based on the fact that psychologists tell us that people learn better when it's reinforced, and it's good. That's why role play is so effective. That's why accountability is so effective, because if you go from if you address a topic and then don't ever come back to it, then your sales team members tend to think of it, well, that was the flavor of the week. Remember back in January when Mark said X? Well, I hadn't come back to that one, so it must not have been important. All right, so team selling, there's 3 meetings. The meeting before the meeting, the meeting after the meeting. Got it?
Got it.
Got it. So we're talking about whenever you have more than just the rep on the call with the prospect. It could be you on the call with them. It could be another team member. It could be an engineer, a product specialist. It could be a third party from outside your organization. Whatever you decide to bring into the meeting with the prospect. And it's typical and it's normal and it's a big problem if you don't teach your people to do all 3 of these meetings. Because when you skip the meeting before the meeting, or when you skip the meeting after the meeting, you lose really good stuff. So let's go through these things. All right. So the pre-call briefing, which is the meeting before the meeting, is important. Why?
What do you want to accomplish? What do we need to talk about? Is there something that I need to address or ask or?
But Megan, it's all in the CRM. Just go look at the CRM.
I'm not doing that. What do I need to talk about?
Okay? You'll get that, all right? You'll get that.
You can put the notes in later.
So, yes. So don't let your reps get away with telling the engineer or the product specialist to just look at the CRM and you'll be ready for the call. Because guess what they probably won't do? Look at the CRM. Guess what? And even if they do, guess what they'll miss? Most of what Megan just said, right? And by the way, the pre-call planning tool that we've got is so good for this, for the pre-call briefing that you'll have with other members of the team that are going to be involved in the call. They got to know who are the characters in the meeting from the prospect's point of view. They got to know the history of the account to date. They got to know the pain, if that's already been discovered. They got to completely have perspective. And you got to also, in the pre-meeting brief, help them understand the passing of the baton situation. Who's going to do what, who's going to run the call, and so on. And then the upfront contract going in, and the desired upfront contract coming out of the actual meeting itself. Right, so that pre-call briefing is huge. So how about the meeting itself? What does that look like? Well, make sure that you review the upfront contract. And by the way, your rep should be the one running the meeting. They should be what we call the captain. Your rep should be the captain, unless they're brand new. If they're brand new and you're going to run the meeting instead, that's cool. But but they need to also see how you do it. But the rep should be taking the reins here. And of course, as soon as you do the intros, and by the way, the intro includes not just name, but also two other things: that person's position in their organization and their role in the particular initiative at hand, the one you're talking about, the opportunity you're talking about. And that should be on your side of the table and on their side of the table, both. So let's say your rep then might start the meeting by reviewing the upfront contract for the meeting, making sure nothing's changed. And then by going around and saying, okay, here's my team members. I've got Mark Traeger here, and Mark's going to do Babish, and I've got Megan Lesko, and her role today is right? So now the prospect knows exactly what my team is going to be there for. And then I'm going to say, so Peter, would you please introduce your team members for this meeting and tell us their particular roles. Now, Peter could have them do it themselves, or he can do it for them. Either one's fine. But Mark and Megan and me, I need to know, that Deborah is there for a reason, and Lewis is there for a reason, and what those reasons are. And of course, they're also their positions in your company or your organization. So, what did you say a while ago? Tom, was it Tom that said no mutual mystification? Who was it that said that?
Yeah, no, that's right.
Yeah. This is all about starting the meeting and making sure there's no mutual mystification. And this is the part that a lot of people skip at their peril.
So my question to you all too, are you all doing drive-alongs with your salespeople? Okay. Consistently, or is it once in a blue moon, or?
Some more than others, but I mean, I go with Inara a lot more. But then Ansley had a new client that had some questions, and she's like, I don't completely understand his business, so I'm not really sure like where to connect him or which events to set up. So we set up this Zoom meeting for Monday.
Yeah. And the biggest problem that I find that you people have
oh, it's us now, okay,
is you want to take over the call.
Oh, always.
Absolutely.
So
I can't help, and I don't
You're
think
good
about it
Scott.
until afterwards, and I'm like, I talk too much.
yeah. So you want to run the call, or you see that the rep asks a question not the way you would do it, or doesn't ask a question you would ask, or is missing something important or whatever. So you want to get in there, and then you don't always relinquish the baton back, right? So this is something that you've got to do yourself in your own pre-meeting brief that you have with yourself, which is, I vow, I solemnly swear, I'm going to let Ansley run this call completely. Even if she starts to fail, I'm going to let it happen. Sure. All right, you got to do that, because otherwise Ansley does not grow. And it's more important for Ansley to grow than it is for that particular meeting to go like you would want it to go. You got to have that mindset.
Right.
Now, if Ansley says, Megan, look, this is such a big, important prospect. If I start to fail, I want you to just take it over. Now, you could have that pre-meeting upfront contract, and if you agree that makes sense for this particular account, then fine, go ahead and have at it. But it's got to be something that your rep decides, not something that you decide. Okay, in the meeting itself, the captain, which is probably the rep in most cases, is going to run the meeting, and they're going to have the baton. So they do the intros, the upfront contract, and then they go into the meat of the meeting. And if it's time now for me as the captain to bring in Mark to handle, I don't know, financial stuff, right? So I'll say, Mark, we had talked about the fact that we would address the finances in this situation, so would you go ahead and take that? And I look right at Mark. I'm passing him the baton. So now the prospects know to look at Mark. Mark handles whatever it is he handles. He takes questions, and then when all that's done, he looks right back at me. And that's our prearranged passing the baton back to the captain. And then I do what I do, and then now it's Megan's turn to take her part. So I look at Megan and ask her to handle the stuff. She does. Then she looks right back at me and passes the baton back to me. Here's what you don't want. When you get in a meeting, especially if you're going to be the team member in the meeting, and now the prospect knows that Peter's the big boss and Al is just the rep, you don't want the prospect to start calling Peter after the meeting instead of Al. right? You don't want that. You're not the rep. So that's why it's really important for the captain to handle the baton passing and have all that set up in advance and do it well. Let your reps do the sales meeting. That's how they grow. Questions? Come on. Come on. Come on. I see y'all smiling. I know. You're the ninja, right? You're the best there ever was. And you want to show that on the sales call. I know you do. Huh? 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 Of course you do.
We'd never do that.
It's difficult. It's very difficult. You gotta learn to do it. Wrap it up at the end of the meeting with another upfront contract. Again, the captain does that. The rep does that. They wrap it up, and it's just like what we talked about in a sales meeting. Same thing in a prospect meeting with a team scenario, is that the next steps are clearly outlined, who's going to do them, and dates are assigned for those to dos, and then an email is sent afterwards, reiterating all that. And get the prospect, by the way, get the prospect to say what they found, how the meeting went, and what they learned, and what they would like to see going forward. Get them to say that before you do the upfront contract. And this is the one that a lot of people don't do. You've got to do the post-meeting debrief with the rep, because my goodness, do they ever learn from that. Tom, are you leaving us? Is that what that says? Yeah, you got to go.
Yeah, I hate it. I've got a hard stop. I've got a guy calling in at 10:45.
Okay, well, we'll talk about you.
That's okay. Thanks.
See you. So make sure that you build in a time on the calendar for you and the rep to debrief, even if it's right after the meeting. But they know that it's not time for them to go back to prospecting, whatever it is we're going to do. They first have to debrief with you or with the other team member or members that were in the meeting. It's just so important to make sure everybody takes the lessons forward. Everybody understands what the to-dos are, and the rep then is able then to coordinate resources going forward, things like that. So don't skip the meeting after the meeting. Cool?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So, lessons learned. We covered a bunch of ground today. We talked about the hiring funnel. We talked about forecast management. We talked about lessons from like empathetic listening and practical. What was the term Tom used? Practical something in the book study. Anyway, talked about the book study. We talked about running effective sales meetings, and we talked about team selling today. So a whole bunch of stuff. So what one thing will each of you take forward from this? One thing that you will do that you haven't been doing, or what one thing will you stop doing that you've been doing because of what you've learned today? So let's go around the room. You've got your lesson learned form. Those folks on Zoom, Scott, Deborah, Peter, David, Chris, make sure you send in your lesson learned to Sherry right away, if you would, please. But let's share them out loud. Who wants to go first?
Okay. So I typically do a pre and post call meeting, but it can be more in depth.
What do you mean by that?
They tend to be just very brief, and specifically the post meeting, it's something that I saw that was missing.
Yeah.
We don't go through everything,
Yeah.
and especially with the newer people to kind of especially with Ainsley, it's not a big deal for the pre-meeting. It's just making sure we're on the same page.
Yeah.
But with Inara, to making sure, okay, this is how I would like to go through the meeting, and really talk that out and have clear expectations of what we want to accomplish.
Yes.
And making sure that we have we end with an upfront contract and next steps.
It's really important to make sure that they also hear your feedback on how they handled the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Inara, it would be great if you could strengthen your upfront contract by doing X, Y, Z.
Right.
I know she got down to second level pain, but not really into third level pain. Why do you suppose that is? Get her to have feedback as to why she didn't go to third level pain. Then she starts to realize that you expect her to go to third level pain, right? Just because you asked that was what we call presumptive questions, things like that. So
But then in the pre-call, to make sure that we go through that I have expectations that we go through these steps.
Yes.
And to let them run the meeting.
Very good.
And for me to be quiet.
Very cool. All right, pass the virtual ball to somebody else.
Can't shoot right across the table.
You're up.
Okay, so mine was fairly similar. Something that I said I would do a few months ago after the Sandler Summit was that I was going to make sure that when Kevin and I do joint calls, he always does the pre-call plan. We go through it before, and we've done that some, but not as much as I think we should have. So.
Okay, so get back to that emphasis on the pre-call plan.
Yes.
All right, ask somebody else, Scott.
Let's go back to the non-virtual world and go to Mark.
Woo!
All right, Mark, what do you got?
The next steps at the end of that sales meeting, we're not doing a very good job of bringing that back and holding accountability. So I've got to make a small section in the beginning of the next sales meeting to discuss that.
Awesome. Okay.
So hold people accountable for it.
We have a template for a next steps letter that you send to the prospect. I can get you that template.
Would you? That'd be great.
Yeah. All right, pass the ball to somebody else.
Oh, let's go to Lewis. He looks like he's having too much fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff today, but one little tidbit I thought was really good was that discussion of not waiting for latecomers in sales meetings. And not only that, but not catching them up when they arrive, because I think that's a perennial problem with meetings is people coming late, and it can snowball, right? As if you wait on people, then people next time come late because they figure the meeting doesn't really start till 2:05 anyway.
Yes, and they'll wait for me because I'm important.
And it doesn't start till 2:10 next time.
Yeah. They start to understand that you're going to do what you say you're going to do. And they'll miss part of the meeting, and then they're behind the 8 ball. So good point. Yeah. So thanks to Lewis. Pass the ball to somebody else.
Let's see. Let me turn my back on my gallery view, and I'll go to Deborah since she's right below me on the screen.
So I'm going to bring the negotiation ideas and the book ideas to my team.
Okay, excellent. I'd like to hear how that goes, what lessons they learn from it.
That's a good suggestion. I like that. I'll do the same. I'll give the book to Kevin when I finish it.
Kevin could probably write the book.
He's too busy playing ping pong right now.
Oh no. Okay, Deborah, you got Peter or you got David or Chris?
Okay, Chris.
Hey, here I am. Can y'all hear me?
Yep, sure can.
Okay, great. Not to take the easy answer, but like many other folks in here, I feel like I could do better with pre-call and post-call planning with my team. So that's certainly something I'm going to be doing.
Excellent. All right, pass it to Peter or David.
Peter, can you talk?
Yeah, I can talk. I'm
right.
going to start using more of the templates that Sandler has. I haven't been using any of those, and just like the opportunity planners and stuff like that. I mean, it's a tremendous help for some of the sales guys, I believe.
Yeah. Well, the two that I shared from SES, the 3 Opportunity Planner and the Opportunity Tool, those aren't really available to you in Sandler Online.
Okay.
You have to get those from me. Yeah. Now Scott's got it. I can send you the entire tool set if you want them.
Oh yeah, if I can get those, it'll be.
Yeah. You send an email to Sherry.
Role playing still.
Okay. Send an email to Sherry that you want the SES tools. Any of y'all that want that, I'll make sure you get them and mark it. You send an email to me or Sherry about the next steps letter. Any of the things that, any of the tools that you hear about in here that you want, that you don't know how to get to, email, and we'll make sure you get them. Okay, so now Peter's passing the ball to David to wrap us up today.
Wow.
A lot of pressure, David.
I know it is. I like the idea of bringing some of the book to the team even now. I think that would be important. I think one of the really good ones is just always smile. That whole thing, if you have that sense of smile, I think even the guy talks about it. It makes people like welcomed in. So I think we need to be doing a lot more smiling, especially during today's time. Everybody is all tweaked with COVID.
Yes.
So I think that, and then I'll take a line I got from watching the movie Harvey. I don't know if any of you have ever seen the movie Harvey with James Stewart, but he says the following phrase: "You can either be smart or pleasant, and I choose to be pleasant." So I think that's a cool line.
That's a cool line. Good one to end on. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Call me, email me if you need my help. Louis, thanks for joining us again. Y'all take care. Get your
All
lesson
right,
learned.
guys, have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend.
Here.
Sure, guys.
Thank you. See you guys.
Y'all have a good weekend.